everyone. I hope you all have a pencil and paper because I think this is going to be, well, you can have a pen and paper too, I suppose, but I think it's going to be like one of those type events that you're going to need to take a lot of notes with. I am going to put my little screen up here. I got to find my screen. Here we go. And we're going to start at the top of the list. I have about 200 and some odd things that I look for when I audit a website. So I'm going to start with the important stuff, and then we're going to go to the lesser important stuff and kind of work our way through my entire list, or as far as we get till 9 o'clock. So one of the reasons that you need to do this, and we kind of have put this front and center with our business. We have some tools that are free on our website that you can go do this yourself and run a quick audit. But the part of the reason we're doing this is because I keep talking to businesses in this pandemic, and I keep hearing, well, I need to put my business online, or, oh, I need to use my website more, or, oh, I need to add a shopping cart. And it's kind of like saying, oh, I need to own a race car. You don't know how to drive it. You might only be able to drive it on a track on a Saturday. But it's a nice thought. For me, it was like, oh, I need to own a boat. I mean, like me owning a boat, great. I own a boat. It would sit in my driveway because I wouldn't know what to do with it. And a website can kind of be the same thing if you don't really know how to operate it. And we talk a lot about how to get ranked on Google, but I am going to go way above that and start to talk about the health of the website, how that website is viewed, and how does Google see that website, but how does the end user see that website? And are we even telling people the right things? So I'm going to start kind of where some of these basically start, and then we'll kind of go from there, because there's a lot of items that are on the website itself, but then there's even outside factors. So we're going to kind of start on the page, and we're going to then move off the page. And I am going to bring up my own website here, which I think if I grade this thing, it grades pretty high. It's like a silly thing to say, but it does. Anyway, so this is where we're going to kind of start that. And I have my little box up for questions. So if you have questions, go sit in that. And hey, if I'm going to put a formatted list out there, this is kind of my own proprietary list, and I really don't know that I want it necessarily circulating around the world. I do have a quasi list. If you go to the website, there is one there now, and I'll show you where it is. If you go to SEO 411, it's under website audit. And if you look down here, you'll see I have a general list of the main high points of what to look for. But my 198 point list is pretty much my own 198 point list of things that wouldn't make sense to somebody if I just gave you a list. I am going to start with on-page elements because I think that's where most people derail first. And the very first thing that we're going to talk about is the title tag of the website. I'm going to give you some of the delimiters of what those should be, and that way you kind of know what you're looking at and what you're talking about, okay? So the very first thing I'm going to say is you need to have a title tag, all right? And it should only be 70 characters wide. 65 is between 65 and 70, and that's somewhat debatable. The one that I have on mine is 80, but I knew what I was cutting off on it, which was this penalty repair. I wanted it there on some level because I wanted Google to understand it, but for all intents and purposes, Google cuts it off at the local SEO line. What people commonly do on that title tag is they write homepage, or they write the name of the company. I'm sure if I randomly pulled somebody's website up, it's going to just say home. And that's not the right thing to do. That's the first point. So the first thing you're going to write down is how long is my title tag. If you're using WordPress, you should be using a plugin called Yoast, and it will give you a spot to put that title tag in, It needs to be keyword focused. If you notice, my keyword nowhere says SEO 411 in it. I'm the least important part of that title tag. So that's the very first thing you see, okay? If your title tag is less than 30 characters, you've got a problem. So I would go back and look at all the pages throughout the entire website and make sure of them that none of them are less than 30. So you need to be between 30 at 70. It needs to kind of be on every single page on the website. Another mistake I see is that they go to the About Us page and the About Us page says About Us, but it doesn't say about SEO 411. It doesn't say the history of SEO 411. It doesn't, they're not. So this needs to be done on every single page, okay? The next hint on title tags is, you can barely see what I'm talking about. Let me see if this is gonna make my life hard, but hold on a minute. Let me see if I can fix this. It's this line up here at the very top. Can you all see that now better? If you can all see that better, that would be great. Okay, so you can see it better. Okay, so I'm gonna try to kind of bring my little sheet up over the top of this so I can see what I'm doing. No, I guess what I'm saying is the best thing you can do is watch this video repeatedly. I don't really have a handout for this. I do have a page on the website that talks about it. But I haven't put together this whole list, and honestly, it's a proprietary list that I'm giving. A lot of what I tell you is stuff that I don't really put out in the public, and there's a lot of the stuff that you don't see written about publicly because it really is the stuff that's the underbelly that makes a website rank and a website work right. So there's a lot of people that don't put those things out there. That's part of the thing what we've done with the clinic. We basically tell you how to do it, but I would never go put the 57 ingredients to Kentucky Fried Chicken out on the internet like that, if that kind of makes some sense to you. And I hope everybody understands that. So my audit page has enough information on it to get you started. This video will be available. You can watch it over and over again. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave that. But as long as we can see what I'm talking about these title tags up in the top. You'll notice that mine is echoed here, and that was on purpose. The next thing you need to do is you need to make sure that none of the title tags on the website are duplicated. And the reason I say that is because WordPress will take a formulaic version of this and put it in there. So if you put no title tag, or you just put a title tag of the name of your website repetitively, it's not going to show up on a regular basis. It's going to show up, it's going to show up duplicated, and then Google doesn't know what that website's about. So every one of them need to be unique, and they just need to be custom written. So if we go to another page, let's kind of go to the, and I'm going to struggle here just a little bit because I made the screen so big. So hold on a minute. All right, so if I go to...
Hey, Beth, they are hard to see, so if you can read the title tags out loud, because some of them we really can't see.
Okay, all right, so this one here says free website and SEO audit by Houston's premier SEO expert. It doesn't say by SEO 411. Yet again, so I'm going for two things here. Free website and SEO audit. So I put SEO and audit together because that's the bigger search term, but I also have website and audit together. And then I also wanted Houston SEO expert in that title tag. So that's there now. And you notice this page is about free SEO audits and website evaluations. And if you notice, I kind of jumbled those words up to go for more different items. All right, so that's that. So the title tag is what you put at the top of every single page that you every page that you have, and you do that in the Yoast plugin at the bottom of every page in WordPress. And something like Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace, we know I don't like them. I'm not going to go into that, but at the end of the day, you can go ahead and put up your title tags. There is places in there, it might say something like meta description, or just might simply say title, and that's what you're going to go ahead and put there. Okay. So that would be the first. Can I show where to put it in WordPress and Yoast? I noticed you said the bottom of the screen, but I didn't see any. Well, first you have to see if you have a Yoast web plugin. And if you do, and I can do this right now for you. So you see I have it here, right, across the top. And then if you come to the bottom, it's right here in this thing here. So I can put it right here. I can tell it to edit the snippet, and it's right here on the line. You see, I have it typed right in right there. So this is the Yoast plugin. So you just have to go to it and then just go pick it off the list. Let's see. I did that one. No. I can't help a choppy voice. That's more than likely your internet connection, not mine. There's not much I can do about that one, so I apologize for that. Okay.
Remember, you were going to read the questions out loud, nice and clear.
Yeah, this one said your voice is choppy. So I said your voice is, I can't fix a choppy voice. That's all that one said.
No, I know. I think also, I saw that Fairman raised his hand. Fairman, we'd like you to use the Q&A. Type your question in the Q&A. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, it's the ongoing. I'm going to come in every class from here on out, Sandra. You'll appreciate this. And I'm going to say, I don't like Wix, Weebly, Web, or Squarespace because 94% of all the pages built in those builders are not indexed by Google. Google will not index those pages unless you have somebody that really knows what they're doing. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of problems with those builders. And it's great to go build a 5-page website. Google doesn't care if you have a 5-page website. So it's a really big problem. So I keep trying to steer everybody into WordPress because it's the platform that's going to work best for you. I answer that literally every class we have. I need to actually kind of come in and say, we need to put this in Sandra's speech. Beth does not like Wix, Weebly, or Squarespace. So 94% of all pages are not indexed. That's the problem with it. Okay, and let that one kind of sink in because that's a big deal. This says, can I put $, percentages, etc. in the SEO title? So if you're going to put 20% off Persian rugs today, okay, I would say no, but I wouldn't say no because of the character itself. It's because it's not encouraging the click. The 20% maybe, you're only going to give me 20% off. I'm not going to that site. So that could work for or against you. It's like the same people that talk about putting phone numbers in the title tags. We used to recommend that for a while because it would show up and people could call off of it, but it discourages the click, and Google's now penalizing you for not doing that. So I would not do that. But you can put like a bar in or something like that, or a dash. I mean, those kind of things. But if you're thinking to put a price or a percentage in there, I would say, no, let's not do that, because I think it hurts that. Why Google not indexed? I think what John is asking me is, why is Google not indexing Wix? Because half the time they're not set up on the subdomains right. The other half the time, the indexing is turned off because it's done by default. You have to do a lot of tricks, and you have to be savvy enough to know what you have to go to do to fix it. And there's just too much to do to know to fix it. So therefore, it's just better to avoid the entire thing. You're going to spend more time fixing it right than you would have. And the other problem that I have with these is it encourages people to put up a 5-page website. Google is not ranking a 5-page website. Period. End of story. They are not there to do it. They're there to provide quality content to their users. And a 5-page website is not quality under any circumstances. It is just a brochure like you would leave on a coffee table somewhere. So you are not making the website a better place, and therefore they're not giving you a ranking. So there's an encouragement factor to do wrong, and there's a structural content problem with it that's wrong. So there's 2 problems with it, and both of which I think just the regular person, which they encourage to use these builders, they're not savvy enough to even begin to know how to fix the problem. So that's where we end up with this double-edged sword on this thing. And yes, the answer is the same for GoDaddy. As a host, we'll talk about hosting on a different day. I kind of always have a funny thing with that. By all intents and purposes, for full disclosure, I actually own a hosting company, so it's always tough. But GoDaddy in a box thing doesn't work any better than this Wix Weebly Squarespace cabal thing that I'm always talking about. All right, so I answered that one. All right. I can't see what you're showing us. Do I need to take an earlier class? I'm lost. Okay, can you see, if you can see my screen, all these classes are standalone. So I've only gotten as far as what is the title tag, which is this thing at the very top of your browser that you enter in your website here in the bottom of your page. You also can enter it up here in the top of your page on the very first line and go with that. By the way, if you've noticed, I appended my name to the end of this because technically I am also a brand. So I actually appended my name to the end of this and did so on purpose. Okay. All right. So let's see. That takes care of the person that. My website is with Volution. Oh, I don't even want to talk about Volution. Volution makes me crazy. All right, we'll talk about that on a different. That's a whole separate conversation to be with Volution. All right. It's not true that. Okay, so we're going to start pulling me a little bit off topic. I think that the Google My Business pages are. It's not that they're more important because you can't really rank well on Google My Business unless you have a good supporting website to go along with it. Those two kind of go hand in hand. I mean, I know you'll have some people that say, oh, I can put up a Google My Business page and rank, but you have to be in an area that has literally no competition. And the last I checked, Houston's the 4th largest city in the United States. And there's plenty of competition for everything that we do, other than my friend Jim Grabera, who sells recycled plastic to China or some crazy thing like that. So he's like 1 of 10 people in the whole world. He can just have a Google My Business. The rest of you better have a website that supports it. And I don't think it's an either or. Local SEO is just as important as having a website. Those two things go hand in hand. All right, so we've gotten down 1 point of 198. So I'm going to stop reading the question window for a minute because you guys are going to kind of pull me all the way into a rabbit hole, and I want to kind of keep up on this a little bit and kind of keep going. I also want to discuss the keywords and how you pick them. You want to make sure when you pick a keyword that you're picking a keyword and you don't keep picking the same keyword over and over and over and over again, because what happens is you don't end up with a page that's focused on it. You end up with your focus spread out over 3 or 4 pages. So you want to make sure that when you put together a page that your keywords, they call it keyword cannibalization, but I want to make sure that I am not repetitively banking keywords up into like pages and creating pages with the same keyword over and over and over repetitively. That's an old tactic and it doesn't work as well anymore. So I would avoid that with all, I see it a lot. I would avoid it with all the, that I can, all the, oh, what am I trying to say? It doesn't matter. You guys got the point. Try to put your keyword, your main keyword, close to the start. So if we come back over here to my homepage, my homepage is Houston SEO. That's my most important word, is Houston SEO. And I have that, it's the first 2 words. And then notice that the first words on the page that are typed in there is Houston SEO service. I put it exactly in the beginning. The first word that I use is the word that my page is about. If I come up to the, let me see, where's my web design page? If you go to the web design page, Houston web design, that's what I want to rank on, Houston web design and development. So if you notice, the very first set of words I use are Houston web design. And then when you come down into the normal text, the very first word I use is, well, finding a solid, Houston web design. And I'm saying it that way because that's how overly simplistic that I absolutely have it right now, that those are literally, I have them starting out, and I actually even have it again here. And don't overdo it though. You see, I also have it again here. So I am reinforcing it all the way throughout the entire page of this. So that Google understands exactly what this page is about. I need to make some improvements on this page. It's not ranking as well as I want, but that's another example. I have this web design 1, 2, 3 times within the first bunch of stuff on this page. So it further puts it in Google's head that it is an important thing. All right. Somebody just asked, what is local SEO versus national SEO? Local SEO is putting together a plan to get on the Google My Maps. And how am I going to utilize my website to do that? What signals am I going to send out to do that? And then how do I make that work? Website versus Google My Business, because ideally you want to be in that map pack in that 1, 2, 3 on any term that's a localized term. Google went through and made a determination of what they say is local, like a car mechanic. You're going to want to find a car mechanic by you. You're not going to go to Detroit to get a car mechanic. So they're trying to give you, they went through and decided what's a local search and then decided what the algorithm is for that. So that's what local SEO is versus like I want to buy a parking lot light. I can buy a parking lot light anywhere in the United States. It doesn't matter. So that's the answer to that. That's a very important question because it's one of those things that is kind of like up and coming all by itself. All right, let's see. Where am I on my list? Conversation, keywords. Add a description title to your website also. You want to add a meta description. You're going to do that back in the back end here. I probably don't have one because I don't always do it. It depends on how the page ranks. Yep, I do. I have it on this one. Okay, SEO 411 is opening small business help, blah, blah. The audit covers on-site, off-site, as well as Web 2.0, which is kind of basically the social properties. So that's the meta description that I embedded into this SEO page, into this audit page. If I come back to the home page, oh, this is the web design page. Hold on. Every one of these has a unique title to them. I just want everybody to understand that that is happening and that it's an important thing. They also have unique descriptions written. Here we go. I was like, where did it go? So this one, I didn't put a meta description in. I probably could use to do that. I wanted to see where the page landed without it, and it landed in the 50s. So I need to do some work on this page to pull it up to the first page of Google. So that's something on my to-do list to get that one to start working. All right, let me go done. I'm trying to mark done the ones that I've answered. I answered that one even though I didn't say it. Okay. All right, let's come back to my list. So the other thing you need to look for is any page that is actually missing a title tag, okay? Where you can see this, I'm going to tell you about, it's a free tool up to 500 pages. It's called Screaming Frog, and it's out of the UK. So don't let that freak you out or anything. I'm telling you to go get something out of the UK. And I'm gonna let this thing load, and then we'll switch over to it, and I'll show you a little bit about this. This is one of these things that you can go find all the problems with your website in one little interface if you do this right. So no, I don't want to update. I want to bring this window down. All right, and then I'm going to share this window with you so you can see it. So I have this little tool here, and I'm going to use this website because I know it's very small. I know it as sure as I'm sitting here. Like my website's over 1,000 pages. This one is a fairly new website, so it doesn't have a lot of pages added to it. So it'll go quicker for us. So you can see it tells me a whole lot about this website and what this website's about. So I can look down it. It gives me all, in this case, I think there's 16 pages on this website. So it's very tiny. It just was built. I can kind of look down it and go. So it tells me whether the page has been indexed, if the page is a problem. It tells me if the page has been redirected. So I have a couple pages here that are redirected to another page. You can see that there's titles here. So you can see every page has a title. There's nothing missing a title on this screen. So it's giving me everything that I need to know to kind of look down and see what they are. And if you notice, every one of them's a little different. They're not like 100% optimized. The top one is. The rest of these are still, they're kind of thin content right now, so I haven't optimized them until they could be bulked out. Gives me my title length. It tells me how wide that title is because I want to really keep it under 500 pixels. It tells me if I have a meta description, and none of those pages have a meta description yet. It also tells me what my H1 tags are, which we'll get to that because you need to only have one H1 tag for a page. You've heard me say that before. It's becoming more and more commonplace that there's only one. You can't go have 50 of them, and I've seen sites that have 50 of them, as crazy as that sounds. Also, we have H2s. They're also an important thing. You can have multiples of those, but I wouldn't go crazy on it. This, like I said, the site right now, although it's a live site, it's got a lot of thin content on it that needs to be bulked out. So that's on the agenda of things to do. But it is what it is. We also put our blog post up, so that started, but you can kind of see a website that you can kind of go and know where you have to go fill in what you need to do. So I would encourage everybody to go home and get Screaming Frog and go run their own little test on it just to go see what this all looks like and see how your website scores against these things that I'm giving you to look at. It'll leave the images, whether the images, what their size is, if they're too big, if they're too small, if what they should be, and whether they have any type of information on them, and if they're got what their status is, if they've got an alternate tab on them as well. So it gives you everything you need to know about images because they need to be kind of kept small too. Inevitably, I put this in and somebody puts a 4,000 KB file there, a 4 meg file that they've stuck on their website, and then they're wondering why their website's slow. So we have a lot of that going on as well. So you want to be careful with that. So make sure your images are resized. Photoshop is a great way to do it. Some people will complain and say Photoshop has a price. Yes, Photoshop does have a price to it. But it's cheap if you take the monthly subscription. They have like one that's as little as $19. So it's not like you've got to go put your whole house up for Hawk to go have Photoshop. Okay, so let me keep kind of coming down this list. So we want to make sure we have meta descriptions. You can check that in Screaming Frog. Are any of your meta descriptions missing? If that's a yes, make sure you go to those pages and fill them in. Are any of the meta descriptions duplicate? If it's yes, go ahead and change them. You have to change them, each and every one of them. Are there keywords in those meta tags? Okay, so let's say you're a commercial bakery and you go, Roland Swiss Bakery is the best baker on the planet. Well, I didn't use the word commercial bakery anywhere in it. So therefore, it now makes a problem because I have no no keywords in that meta description. I would say to keep that meta description around 100 characters at most. 70 probably is better, but I'm going to say you could probably push the upper limit to around 100. I am not saying words. I am saying characters, type letters. So understand the difference in that I'm truly saying characters, okay, keystrokes. Are there any errors in your page? And what I will show you is on this telereach one, and I'm going to have to go home and look this one up when I can. This page here, for some reason, is showing as not found. I suspect what it is that I changed the user to be the client and took it away on ours, so we're no longer valid, but this page is showing active, so I need to go in now and put a redirect on that page so that page actually shows up and doesn't work right. So I'm gonna, before I go to the next set of things, I'm gonna run down the question list and see how we should do this. Anthony asked, how much should you pay for SEO? Answer that in this class because there's so many factors in that. That's an offline personal conversation because it varies person to person. Although someday I'm going to build a calculator. Do you recommend a navigation location on all website pages? A navigation location mapping. You mean, I'm assuming you mean like this thing across the top. If that is there, yes, you should have a navigation bar on every page on your website, because if you don't, Google doesn't know where to go. And if you notice, mine doesn't say services, mine says SEO services and digital marketing. It doesn't say products or something like that. It actually spells out what we do. So I seriously encourage everyone to spell out what you do up here. Don't just put platitudes. Okay, so that's another one done. What do I think of October CMS? I've never heard of October CMS, but I'm just going to kind of keep coming back that the problems that you have with WordPress are usually dependent on your web host and your ability to keep it patched. If you keep WordPress patched and you have a good web hosting company that runs a firewall, you don't have hacking problems. Unsolicited messages from WordPress. I'm not sure if you mean messages like people have used message boards, but all you have to do is turn it off, or there is a plugin called Ask-A-Met that'll stop that from happening. So those are all just about, hey, how do I secure WordPress? That's a different, but no, I've never heard of October CMS. I will tell you, I have a lady right now, and it's a very interesting story. She came to me, asked me a whole bunch. One of her people took one of these classes, and they came back to me and they said they want to build the website in Magento, and they think that in the long run they're going to save all this money putting it in Magento. And I'm going to tell you right now that WordPress not only will end up being the cheapest option you have, it will be the easiest you have to learn to use. Magento, I tried it. I spent 4 days on it, couldn't get past the first page. Now I'm telling you, this is something I've done 20 years. I could not get past the first page on it, and I ended up saying, hell no, we're never going to do this again. So that's that story. So let's see. Let me close that one. All right. How do you learn WordPress is it difficult for a novice? No, you can learn it through some videos. I actually am playing with the idea of starting my own online WordPress class that I can run once a week and do that. I haven't decided yet what to do and how to execute that, but I think I'm going to actually consider doing that. This pandemic has taught me a whole lot about being okay with distance learning. I'm going to say that I never was okay with doing this clinic this way. And I kind of felt like once I put it on the internet, everybody was going to stop coming. But what I've ended up with is a pile of people in each of these classes. So it's worked out okay. So I'm gonna say at this point, I'm gonna consider doing it, but lynda.com has classes, YouTube has videos, you can learn it. And I don't think it's all that hard if you have somebody that helps you kind of spin it up from the get-go. Mark, that one is done. All right, this one says, this is just a statement of fact, but I don't know whether this is a good fact or a bad fact. This says, UK has great web design magazines. Okay, I don't really know anything about it. So I do have some websites in the UK, but I don't know anything much more about web design class or web design magazines there. All right, the next sentence says, what type makes up your 1,000 pages? Okay, my website, that's a great question he's asking, okay? What I tell everybody is you have to have 100 pages for Google to even know you. And when I say that in a whole room of people, everybody goes, egads, how am I ever going to have 100 pages? And the thing is this, the blog on WordPress generates 7 pages, 5, 6, maybe on the minimum. Depends on how well you know how to manipulate that. So if I am telling you that something creates 7 pages, how many page and blog posts do I really need to get to my 100 pages? So if I run a Screaming Frog on SEO 411 right now has 72 blog posts and probably maybe 100 regular pages, if that. So I'm just going to let it run over here and let's see what it comes up with. I haven't clocked it lately. Let's see what it comes up with. So you can see it down in the bottom of Screaming Frog. I'm going to have to switch back to Screaming Frog here a minute while we're talking about this. Hold on. All right, so we're going to answer that. Rule of thumb on image sizes. So I'm going to say this has been an ongoing report. I had a business partner that swore everything could only be 50 kilobytes. And, you know, I don't think it's really a valid thing like that. What I will say is that 88 to 100 is probably okay. But I also have a 8 meg video sitting at the top of SEO 411's homepage, and Google doesn't seem to care. So, you know, image sizes need to be optimized. You don't want to have a 4 meg, you know, a huge payload on images that are unshrunk because you'll make people mad. But conversely, they're not as stringent as they used to be. So keep it around 100 and 100 kilobytes and you should be okay. And that's not unreasonable if you put them through Photoshop. Let me answer that one. So I have this one up here that says, I am an IT professional. I have my own website name at Amazon. I use SEO plugins, but what would you suggest to have the right person for SEO? What would you suggest to have the right person for SEO? Well, Yoast is, and I'm going to tell you, there's another one that's Rank Math, and I'm going to go ahead and have to try that out. I'm afraid to do it on SEO 411, so I may do it on the hosting company's website on ACTWD, because I really want to try it and I want to see what happens to it. So if that's not what you're asking, readdress the question. But I tell everybody use Yoast for it because I think that's the best route to go. But this Rank Math is coming up big and strong. All right, let's mark that one done. We'll mark that one done. What size should the pictures be? I just answered that, so we're going to mark that one done. Can you offer a WordPress class on Udemy? No, I don't want to do that because I lose control over it. If I do it, what I'm going to do is do exactly what we're doing here tonight, and I'm going to work with each one of you, and we'll work with it on screen, and I'm actually going to do it on hands-on. I don't know that I think it's a good idea to teach somebody WordPress in a format where you can't see what they're doing, and when they can't find the right button and blow the website up, they get frustrated. And I used to teach this in a live in-person setting, and inevitably I always had somebody that didn't know where the right button was. So I'm thinking to teach it in this environment that I can do screen shares and work with people directly. So that's the answer to that one. Should I have a location on every page? You are here. No. Yes, I guess. You're not, I'm going to answer that differently than the way you said it. No, I'm not going to say you are here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this little number here. I'm going to put, although mine actually says you are here, I'm going to put a breadcrumb trail on every page. Okay. Every page should have a breadcrumb trail on it. Okay. And it needs to be broken out of where you are, and what the hierarchy of the website is. So what that means to you is this. This is a really good example of this. All right, so when I go to Rome, you see how this says popular Italian destinations, travel by city, Rome's ultimate travel guide. When I go to food and wine, it adds another layer to this. So see, now it's the Rome Ultimate Food and Wine Travel Guide. And if you notice, these are all set with keywords in them, and that's intentional. None of this is done without a keyword being attached to it. So the answer is, I guess, yes, you should have that the way you're saying it, but it's called a breadcrumb trail is what it's called. And yes, that should be on every page. All right, this one says, how easy to integrate WordPress with Facebook and auditing, if any? How easy is it to integrate WordPress with Facebook? I don't know what you're asking me. And I think if you're saying how easy is it to put a link to Facebook on your webpage, it's pretty easy. If you're wanting to bring your Facebook feed into your website, that's pretty easy. If you look at my website, I didn't put Facebook because I don't think Facebook's a good venue for us. But what I did is I actually stuck Twitter on the side. So anything that I tweet about actually shows up. Now, what I will say is I cannot talk about how you should fire Bill O'Brien on SEO 411, or it will show up here. And then Google's going to be like, what is this Bill O'Brien and why is he here? So I don't tweet about stuff like anything other than SEO on the SEO 411 Twitter channel. But I did pull it in here. I also did the same thing on ACTWD. So anything I tweet about shows up on this channel here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, what did I mention to secure a website? We use iTheme Security. That's one that we use. You can use WordFence, which is another one. You can use Cloudflare, which is another one. There's several different ways to handle this. The truth is we have extra security out on the border routers. So I don't need to go through third parties to do it. So I don't. We're a little bit atypical in that because we took our own security and bought that in-house instead of depending on third parties to do it. That's how we do that. But iTheme Security does a good job. Anybody that is hosted with my company gets these tools free of charge, just a FYI point of that. So just so you know that's happening. What is the name? I answered that one. Done. Please a little slower when naming modules for old people. Huh. Now, who says I'm not an old people? Now that's all relative there. So I'll try to go a little slower if I miss something, but iTheme Security is the last one I said. I know Amazon offers WordPress. Have you used WordPress on Amazon? No, because I own my own hosting company. So I don't use WordPress on Amazon. And what I will say is this, is I don't know anything about their program. I wonder if it's like GoDaddy's version of WordPress, which is I don't mean this is a bad word, but I'm going to say it because it's going to paint the right picture. It's a bastardized version of WordPress.com. And what they did is they made it next to impossible to eradicate GoDaddy out of your WordPress install. So if you wanted to go, WordPress.com is equally as proprietary with that. But if you wanted to pick that WordPress install up and go somewhere else, you can't. So I would be very careful about Amazon offers WordPress, because it may be Hotel California WordPress that you can never leave. So just kind of understand that, understand what you're getting. If you don't put the files in, I would never go to that type of a platform. And that includes places like WP Engine and WP Rocket and all these specialty WordPress places. Not to get in the weeds, but a lot of them, they alias your domain, so the files don't really live under your file structure. They live under a subdomain. So WP Engine, website.wp engine. And that's not necessarily the best route to take. Sorry, the dog has to keep making an appearance every once in a while. Okay. You are correct with that, GoDaddy. We had to rebuild the whole site. Hotel California, that's what it is. It's called Hotel California WordPress. You can check out anytime you want. You just can never leave. So for those of you that are young enough that there's a song by the Eagles, you can Google it. Anyway, I have to point those things out. All right, so let's see. If I had to guess, Amazon's doing the same thing to try to be proprietary to keep it in there. All right, what WordPress URL address is free? WordPress.org. I used to not know that. I used to still get confused, but it's really easy now. It's WordPress.org. WordPress.com is actually just that, a commercial entity. And you can't leave there either. If you build your website at WordPress.com, you actually have to go rebuild the whole website somewhere else. So I don't encourage that behavior, because let's say Amazon decides they want to get out of the web business because it's not profitable, then what are you going to do? You're stuck with a version of WordPress that you're going to have to now go rebuild someplace else. That just whole site doesn't really actually excite me. All right, what WordPress URL address? I already answered that one. Oh, you guys keep coming here. Hold on. WordPress can provide website versions for mobile phones, tablets. Can you recommend that? WordPress, it's in the theme. So when you go, so write this down. If you go to WordPress, you can go to a website that's called Theme Forest. And you make sure you buy one that is responsive so that it will size down to your mobile phone or to a tablet. And it's built into the theme to do that, so you guys don't have to screw around with that. What I will say is, some people have said to me, why do I say Theme Forest? It's because Theme Forest is the only company that really kind of vets their submissions, because I've always told people this, and I had this happen. I went to an accounting firm and they wanted me to do an audit on their website, and I turned off the theme, and the theme underneath it said, this theme was created by, let's say, Thor. Okay, and Thor lives in the Milky Way galaxy. No, iTheme security only. I'm really not. I'm really not. They're the only ones that really vet it. But when I turn the theme off and turn the style off, the only thing that I had, all this stuff that was written there about the Milky Way galaxy, their home planet was Earth, that they recommended Apple and Apple products at all costs. And this was all written in the background. So these people were trying to get ranked on and be a prestigious accounting firm. And yet the underpinnings of their whole theme had all this stuff in it that was advertisements and misinformation. And Google can see that. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean Google can't see it. So Firefox is the only one that really lets you check a website and turn the theme off on it. But you need to know what's in the underpinnings of the website. And I've never, Theme Forest, plugins and Code Canyon. See, somebody's right here in the scroll telling me the same thing. They're the only ones that vet it and make sure there's no malware in the theme. I'm going to say this, and I hope you all don't think badly, okay? But theoretically, we have enough knowledge at my company that I could write a theme and put anything and embed anything and I want it, and you guys would never know about it. And the sad thing is, there's people out there that are selling things like that specifically sniff and steal and take, and the end user doesn't suspect it. They just thought, wow, I got a free theme. And there really is no such thing as free. So I'm going to tell you, Theme Forest, I'm going to stand behind that. I never, ever send anybody anywhere else. It's just really not an option. All right, so we have done with our questions here for a moment, so I can go back to what I was doing. Okay. So let's see. So we've talked about on-page characters, meta descriptions, title tags. Don't do pop-ups. And the other thing I'm going to tell everybody is watch modal windows. And what modal windows are is when you go to the website and it pops up and it says, hi, you've reached us. We would like to have you join our mailing list. And then you type it in. I can't tell you how many people I have had to say, okay, that's really not a good thing to do. And they say, but Dress Barn does that. And I have to say to them, are you Dress Barn? You don't have the panache to be able to break the rules. So I give you the rules as they should be. And inevitably what ends up happening is somebody gives me a example, but it's not an equal example because it's not something that you would be able to do. So until you are those people, I would not predicate my answer on that. By the way, SEO 411 right now is 825 pages is what it's showing is registered. So that's a pretty healthy size site, and that's Google's pretty happy with that. The HTML pages alone on it without all the extras are 440, just so we have an idea on that one. I will say that I do have an event section that has all the SEO classes on it. So that has created about 100 and some odd extra pages because we have 4 a month and the next year is posted. So that right there is there. So there are extras just built into the equation just simply because of how I did the class titles. But you can look down this and see that we have extra pages, we have extra, we have tags put on pages for blog posts. So we created 825 pages out of our website. I would venture to say 293 of them are real. So my website's way over that 100, but there's a lot of extras created because of what we did with some of these other things. So that answers that question for you guys because you wanted to answer that question. Somebody asked me that question, so we'll get you an answer. Okay, so let's kind of go back to my 198 points that we've only done 20 of. So we got a long way to go. All right, so the next thing I would look at on this website is to see how keywords are utilized. Okay, so I would have to look at those pages individually and say, hey, what is the homepage? You know, what are the keywords and the targets for the homepage, and what does it rank on? So let's look at that. So let's take SEO 411's webpage and see what it's ranking on. So, and I can do this on any web page, kind of put something in and come up with what it's ranking on with this tool. Now, there's a free version of this, and then there's a paid for version of this. So let's assume it was not my own company or my own website. I would go here. And it tells me, drum roll, that we're ranking on, where does it say? We're ranking on 476 keywords. So I would open that and start to look and see what that meant and how many are here. So I have 8 in the top 10. I've got, or 8 in the top 3. I've got 11 in the top 10. I've got 51 of them that are 11 through 20, and the rest of them I don't care. They're too far off the radar to even care about. The next thing I would do is I would look and I would see what the pages are and look and see what something was ranking on. So if you look at the home page of this website, it's ranking on 121 different key terms. And ideally, that's what you want your page to do. You want it to rank on the most amount of pages, or keywords rather, as you possibly can. If you'll notice, I moved up 20 points nationally on the keyword SEO expert, not without the word Houston on it. That's a national term, and I'm now in the 60s, and I'm really kind of happy. I'm working to try to push that up to the top altogether. Okay, so there is that piece going on, but these are all the variants. Local SEO, Houston SEO company. If I turn around and I search it, I'm going to search it from 1 to 10. You can see. So Houston SEO expert, we're number 1. SEO optimization, we're number 2. All those expert terms, we talked about this because those are the first several terms that my website is on. But then I have things like Houston SEO Solutions, we're number 9 on. SEO in Houston, we're starting to get to the second page. This can be corrected. I'm working on correcting it now to push as many of these up. But I have a page that's ranked on over 100 terms simply on the homepage because I did that homepage is so tight on SEO terms that it's ranking all over the place on it. So that's a good thing, and that's what your goals should be. And then the other thing I will tell you is to make sure when you look, there's a couple schools of thought here on this, so I might as well address it. Some people talk about a scattershot approach, which is I'm going to try to come up with every variant of a keyword that I can. And the auspice of that is, and I've said this myself, is that 50% of all searches are unique to the end user. But I think that is more applicable to products and not to services. And what I mean when I say that is this. Anybody that knows me personally knows that I have a habit of wearing red New Balance shoes. And as time is going on, it's getting harder and harder to find those red New Balance shoes. So I put in my shoe size, the width I want, the color I want. I am very super specific, so I don't have to go look through gazillions of shoes to only come up with shoes that are not the color or the brand or the model I want. That's a product, and those searches are unique to me. I'm not just going to put in red New Balance because there's no telling what I'll get and where I'll go. But when I'm talking about a service like accounting, I am going to put on accounting services for small business, or small business accounting, or Accountants Houston. There's really only so many different things that I can put in for something. And what I know, and I will show you this here, if you can see, and this is going to be tiny print. Don't anybody complain. It's not my fault. It's so tiny. You'll see the amount of searches that are done for this term. So this SEO expert, there's 3,600 searches done for that a month. The pay-per-click on that is $10 a click. So if I can pull that into the top 20, I'm starting to get somewhere in this world. All right. A Houston SEO expert at number 3, I'm pretty happy with that because that's 1,300 searches for that. That's a money kind of a term. Houston SEO agency, money kind of a term. Okay. What's not a money kind of term is something like this: Google SEO expert. What do you want from me? And what I mean, you see that these start to trail off. Small companies in Houston, that's never going to make me $1. So I'm not really worried about that term. So I kind of look like, what are the terms in this world that are going to make me money? And what my goals from this site are SEO Houston, Houston SEO companies, Houston web design Houston. I have some web development Houston, Houston web development. There's some real specific terms that if I get somebody in, I'm going to inevitably get business out of them. An SEO expert, maybe somebody, and I had this actually happen. Somebody Googled SEO expert and I came up and they wanted me to go give a lecture on it. I am going to answer that question next, Anthony Batista, just so you know, because that's an interesting question. And I'm going to say something here that I don't know that I'll ever put in print. Moral of the story is you want your homepage to try to rank on as many terms as possible, but you also have to have a goal in mind. My goal is SEO Houston, Houston SEO, web design Houston, Houston web design. If I can get those 4, I think this becomes a lead generation website constantly. I think we will not want for leads. What else I will tell you is that web design probably is a better leader into SEO. So, instead of getting people before or after they build a website, which it's hard to do SEO on somebody else's website, it's better to get them in the door on a web design that you build it right and then talk about how are you going to market and go forward. I'm going to answer this first question. This came from Diego, and he said, what's my thoughts on Shopify? My thought on Shopify is it's the same as Wix, Weebly, Web, and Squarespace. You don't normally see it ranking in search results. Again, it's very difficult to put together right. And I'll tell you something. I have a friend that has a site that's built in Shopify. Not one of his pages rank. The only thing that ranks are images. And the image search for what he does, the image search works, thankfully, or they would have no traffic, because although this thing kills it in image search, it has no rankings on the web page at all. What else sucks is the pages that rank on the images that rank are subdomains of Shopify. So if I want to move it, I risk losing every one of those pages because those images now will no longer live on Shopify. So I wouldn't touch Shopify with a 10-foot pole, and wouldn't touch it any longer than the Wix, Weebly, Squarespace group, because they're all got the same intrinsic problems. They're designed to be easy to use, but there's no thought on how am I going to make this website rank and what am I going to do to help the end user. As long as you think you have something, you're going to pay the money, and what do they care? So that's my opinion on that. They're very difficult to rank in Google, and that's probably, I mean, could I do it? Yes, probably, but it would take a boatload of money, a lot of extra outside effort, and probably creatively recreating something. But you'd have to have the knowledge in my head and a programmer guy on the side to make that all work. So anyway, that's that answer. Now, the question that caught my attention is this. If not WooCommerce, it says, what do I rank in? What would I recommend instead of Shopify? It's a plugin into WordPress that's called WooCommerce. It will run anything and work fine. This is a very important question. How do I feel about someone paying for the pay-per-clicks? So I am going to answer this very carefully. If you asked me about pay-per-click 10 years ago, I would have told you there's no reason to have it, save your money. I think now Google has co-opted so much of the homepage with their videos and their suggestions and their thoughts, and they've diluted organic search quite a bit. Now, it doesn't mean that somebody doesn't, that somebody you come up, somebody doesn't click. I don't mean it that way. But I do think that from a brand reinforcement standpoint, you need to have a pay-per-click campaign. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to do this. I've got one running for myself right now fairly cheaply, but I'm going to tell you why I did it. Back at the beginning of May, I haven't thought through how to write this all out yet so that Google doesn't ban me for the rest of my life. They did a core algorithm update, and they said that they didn't kind of tell what was going on, but everybody's been kind of guessing, and everybody's having a really hard time wrapping their head around it. And they came up with the idea that it's about the authority of the website. What I'm going to tell you is I manage many websites. Some of them, about 25% of them, have some manner of a pay-per-click attached to them. The other 75% of them do not. The websites that had a pay-per-click account attached to them before the pandemic, but got shut off in the pandemic, went down by 50%. Not because they shut the traffic off. Their organic searches dropped off by 50%. The people that never had a pay-per-click campaign actually went up. Now, what do you glean of that sentence? I guess I could say traffic is an coefficient of rankings, and the traffic went down, so therefore Google assumed that the website was no good. I could make that. It depends on what your view about Google is. Is Google Big Brother? Is Google benevolent? Is Google fair? And I'm going to probably leave that answer there because I can't prove that something was done with this. But what I can say is that everybody that had a pay-per-click campaign that shut their campaign off is now down by 50% in their rankings. And that's a pretty big number, and it was pretty harmful. And I would hope that no company would ever retaliate against the small business that was having trouble. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like it. Again, that's my opinion, and that's how I look at that. What I'm going to say is that anybody and everybody in the room can have a really cheap pay-per-click campaign running on their display ad network that gives the appearance of having more traffic than you would naturally. So again, I'm trying not to, I have a lot of opinions on this, but if it was me and it's something that I did, I went ahead and added a display network pay-per-click campaign to my website. My website's been doing very good since the pandemic, since I added that. So again, that's my opinion on that. It's a very convoluted, if you listen to what I'm saying, you may read between all the lines on that. But a display ad network is pretty darn cheap and pretty darn helpful. So that's my opinion there. Okay, so I'm going to mark that one as answered. Done. All right. Earlier, you mentioned Google's algorithm returns local results based on what you search for, like a plumber. However, a lot of local businesses like restaurants are on Yelp who have a very big presence. Do you guide businesses on Yelp as well as Google for an improved website? Okay, let's, you guys keep asking questions that are like loaded little potato, like they have like little bombs built into them because you're kind of putting me in a spot here. So I agree that Yelp works for businesses and restaurants from that regard. But what I will say is that when I take somebody that has a paid for Yelp campaign and I actually look through their server logs and I look through their Google Analytics, often the traffic does not match what's being reported. And additionally, if you're using a sub number for Yelp and you actually look at your Comcast bill that says where the phone numbers came from and how they came in, you're going to find that doesn't match. So, I know people use Yelp. I know there's some traffic from Yelp, but I don't know that I think that it's enough that I would focus on Yelp. And I don't know that I think that even the restaurants, more people look for, I don't know. If I was in a room right now, I'd say, who uses Yelp? And I bet you would get like 5 hands up. I don't know who uses Yelp at this point. Some days I think Yelp is kind of come and gone, kind of like the yellow pages. So what I will say is that sometimes Google favors a Yelp listing over your listing. So if you can get the Yelp listing, you can get the #1 spot on Google because it's coming out of Yelp and not coming out of your own website. So you can Google the phrase Barnacle SEO and it will explain to you about what I'm saying. But there is a way to use Yelp to help Google. But as far as to have Yelp and you're getting big, I have never been able to match the numbers to what they're given in reports. Maybe I'm just not a good report reader. So we'll just kind of leave that one there. Okay. And again, the problem is when you don't know what you're looking at, this is a big deal. Okay, now we have another question. How important are reviews for organic SEO? Another little nugget of a bomb I'm going to shove at you. So when you get a review written and the person says, "Hi, I just love your dental office," Or, hi, I just love your staff. They're fantastic. Erica's very nice. Google has no idea what that business does. But if I write a review that says, hi, I came to your office for a root canal. Your staff was really nice. It's a great dental office, and I would recommend your dentist to anybody. That's really important, because what I did is there's keywords in that. So what I've been encouraging customers to do, and again, this has to be done in a very low burn kind of way. You can't get somebody to spam the keywords in there, is have somebody explain what they did. Okay, if you're a divorce lawyer, hi, I use lawyer so-and-so to help me with my divorce and child support case. Not, hi, this person was a great lawyer and he helped me. Thanks. I hope everybody understands the difference between what I'm doing. Google's looking at those at those reviews and helping you formulate what it thinks your website's about, and therefore helping your rankings. It helps local more than it helps national, but it helps on all levels because it helps explain what you do, and that is something that you can't manipulate. What I'm going to tell you also, as I say that, because somebody's going to say, sure, I can go to Fiverr and buy reviews. So the thing is, with going to Fiverr and buying reviews, remember something. Your phone has location services. Even if you turn it off, it has location services on it. So if you review something that you've never been there and you send the review on your phone, they're really going to know all about where you were and what you did. So let's use this for example. So I went to Manning's in New Orleans and it was terrible. So I left a 1-star review. And I came home to Houston and I did my 1-star review from Houston about this restaurant in New Orleans. Well, they did allow the post to stay because they know, based on location services, that I was at Manning's in Louisiana. So the chances are that that was a real review. If the review for the restaurant comes from a person in Karachi, yeah, the chances are that they weren't actually there. So they're making those determinations about those locations. They know where you are and what you're doing and whether that's real or not. So I'm going to discourage real fake reviews, but I'm also going to tell you that you should try to get your end user to craft the review the way you want. Hi, Mr. So-and-so, you just recently came to our office. Would you mind explaining and would you mind leaving us a review that explains the services we performed for you? That's how I would handle that. Some of the people that have left reviews for us, they're all real, but they've also heard me speak on how reviews should be structured. So we have some really good reviews and I think they're put out in the right way. All right, this says, my opinion is I think Yelp is good for restaurants. It's not good for a flooring business. Their offer for home services and providers in general. Okay, I agree with you that they're not good for restaurants, but I don't know how many people go. Even if I was going to go look up a restaurant, I use Google reviews. I don't use Yelp. I'm going to the Google reviews. What I know about Yelp is this, and this I have no compunction about saying. Yelp highlights bad reviews, and there is no mechanism or gatekeeper. So let's say I don't like somebody. I could hire an army to go to Yelp, spam the heck out of that thing, and that business has not a prayer to go get that removed. Now, there's some people that say if you have a paid for Yelp service, you can get it removed, and that's true, but how much money and what you have to do, it starts to get way out there to be able to handle it. So I think people feel that Google reviews are far more salient. So although, yeah, I guess it's good for restaurant businesses, I think people Google and use the reviews that are on Google long before they're going to go to a third-party site and start in Yelp to go. And I mean, I have a Yelp app on my phone, But I go Google Mexican restaurant near me. I go, oh, that one's got, oh, look at that one. That's a 5-star restaurant. It's got $2 signs. I'm happy. Read a couple. Waitresses are nice. They bring me water. Everything's happy. We're good. So I kind of, I think I still stand behind what I'm saying, that Yelp's day is come and gone. And you're right. It's not good for a flooring business at all. All right, let's see. I think I got all your questions again. All right, let's onward and upward to the next. Oh, wait, no, here comes somebody. Do I have an office on the south side of Houston? I have an office on the west side of Houston, on the southwest side of town, if you wanted to come there. But we're not there right now because of social distancing. So we've been using our Zoom meetings. I do Zoom meetings. It seems like all I do is talk on Zoom all day. I don't know when I'm supposed to do my work for all the Zoom meetings I've been having. But what I will say, Arnold, I have your request for an audit. I'm going to sit down and do that one day this week for you, and I'll write you back on that, and then we can decide what to do. Okay.
Hey, Beth,
There's that. Yes, ma'am.
can I do a little commercial break here? I just want to announce an event that's coming up.
Go for it.
Okay, I think what I'm going to do is just use the last question that that Arnold put in and type an answer there so I can put in a link.
What do you want to
Okay.
do?
I just typed in an answer to Arnold's question. Did everyone get it, or is only Arnold going to get it?
Only Arnold's going to get it, I think.
Shoot. Well, I don't know how to put this out there then, like, because this is not working like a chat. But
what do you want to tell everybody?
there's an event coming up called Pivoting Post-Crisis, and it's this Saturday from 8 to 1 p.m. And a link to go to it is called Hopin, as in HOPIN.TO. So it's hopin.to/events/pivoting-past-crisis #top. So I wish I could find a way to type that in, but what we'll do is follow up with everyone who attended today, and it's going to be a great event. There's a lot of entrepreneurs and residents who work for Houston Community College that are speaking at it, and the topics are going to be, well, basically, here's a little intro. The using crisis for growth. Many of us have a great vision for our business, but might be feeling a bit off track due to the COVID-19 crisis. Let's figure out how to pivot with confidence, risk assessment, technology, mindfulness, and banking relationships. And we have a 6 or 7 speakers, all of which are entrepreneurs and residents at HCC, and some banker guests. And it should be a really great opportunity to just log in, check in with a lot of great interactive virtual experience. Basically, it's like going to a summit without having to drive there. And we highly recommend it. So again, I'll follow up with everyone who logged in today and send you a link to it. And we invite you. It's free. It's absolutely free. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, back to our regular scheduled programming. Only kidding. All right, let's see. All righty. All these people said, can you send? Oh, somebody typed it in for you.
Thank you. Let me see if it's right. That's it. Wait, there was a little bit at the end of it. I'm not sure if we need it or not, but let me get there again. It's called hopin.to/events/pivoting-past-crisis #TOP. #top.
I don't know if you need that.
I don't either, but
Hold on, I'll find out in 2 seconds.
this worked for me, she says.
Nope, you
Great,
don't.
Raj
Yeah,
said.
it works fine.
Okay, thanks. Great. Well, we invite you all there. It should be a great day. This Saturday, 9 to 1, with even a pre-event roundtables from virtual roundtables from 8 to 9. Okay, thanks.
Okay. All righty. Yeah, that works. That link's good. Just cut and paste it, anybody that wants it. All right, done. Type the answer. Done. 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 I'm going to leave the links in the scroll. Yes. Sorry, I'm just trying to clean it. You guys all bombarded it with, can you type the answer? So I'm just trying to, the links are there in the question. If you go to a question and answer box, I think you should be able to see them. Okay, so yeah, they see it. You guys see it. So if you click the Q&A button in your little control panel from whatchamacallit, you'll be able to see it in the Zoom, in the bottom of your Zoom window.
Great.
All right, so that'll solve it. Two of you were nice enough to go ahead and put it there, and I'll leave them there and work around them. Okay. All right, so we have talked about trying to get our page ranked on as many keywords as we can per document. I can go ahead and look at any document on my website and know what the top pages are on the website and how many different subdomains there are, keywords are. So even my Houston SEO page, it ranks on 62 different keywords. And you can see Houston SEO is 18. Houston SEO services is number 8. So again, these are pretty reasonable high-end terms that we have ranked on for them. So just be mindful of what your objectives are for every page on a website, and it's going to start to work out a lot better for you because you start to build a website that has multiple pages on it as opposed to ranking across multiple keywords, which brings multiple traffic across all the website. So it's not like we just have a ranking homepage and nothing else. This says, how can I change the coding best to allow Google to recognize my website if it was written in WordPress by another person? Well, it depends on how it was written by another person. See, WordPress is pretty stable, but if you got a bad theme or a lot of things that slow it down, it's all about how you assemble a WordPress site more than it is about what you type on a screen and how it's coded. I've talked about that. Sandra, maybe we need to do a site. I haven't done it. I guess I haven't done it in 6 months, but maybe we need to do a site structure again, how to assemble a website and put it together from start
I like
to
that.
finish.
I think it's a good idea.
We haven't done that in a while, that we kind of work with mind maps and how to put it all together, right? So we can do that. Let me, Patrick, we'll do that the first of next month's class. So that'll be the second Wednesday in June. I don't know what its date is, probably somewhere around June the 10th.
By the way, like just happened, we do pay attention to what you guys are looking for. So you're always welcome to put in the Q&A the types of topics that you want us to cover, and we'll pay attention to that.
And if it's interesting, we'll go ahead and add it really pretty quickly. So I'm doing that. All right. It says, John, I kind of answered this on the AdWords side. Technically, they don't come into play, but I am going to say that I found a correlation after this core update of winners and losers based on who did and didn't have a, it may just be a coincidence. It just may be a coincidence. I don't know how else to say that, because if you went and asked Google, they says there's no benefits from AdWords on the organic side. But like I said, the 25% with AdWords went down and the 75% that didn't went up. So there seems to be no other speakable reason for it. But I'm sure there's a causality that somewhere they built something to give them plausible deniability. But I think you should, if you're concerned about it, spend $50 and put a display network ad up. That's what I think. All right. So it says, how easy is it to migrate legacy website into WordPress, say PHP or Joomla? Okay. Well, I hate Joomla almost as much as I hate Wix, Weebly Web, and Squarespace, mostly because Joomla is hackable, and it's very difficult to work with. What I will say about how easy, I guess it depends on how big the website is, but I have kids in my office that routinely take a website and move it into WordPress 150, 200 pages. It takes them about a month. And they just go build all the pages in. I also have a little scripting wizard that sometimes can scrape the information and put it together for us. Sometimes it just doesn't come out as elegant as it would if you just built them by hand. So I don't know that it's difficult more than it is time consuming. So that's that. Let's see. I have not built my website yet, so I would love a session. How do I find a host? I don't know. You might know one that's speaking tonight. I'm not really sure how to answer that question. There's a lot of hosts. I don't know. I never know how to answer that question because I already kind of I don't want to make it about me. All right, let's kind of go on to the next one. Let's go back to my list. And I want to make sure I don't delete the 2 people with the links to the hop-in event there. Okay, so the next thing that I start to look at when I look at a website, so I look at title tags, meta descriptions, how they're executed, all these little pesky under the hood stuff is what I look at first. Are my H1 tags right? Are my H2 tags right? Is there any replication that I don't know about? Is there any extra pages I don't know about? Is there any screwballness going on? So I look at all of that first, and then I look at the keywords to make sure they're all executed per like how we would want them to be. The next thing I'm going to look at is the content itself, and I kind of start to audit the content. And I remember I mentioned Telereach. Let me go over here. They're a good example of something, because what we did was we built the website for them, but we need to fill in some information because they just gave me some real basic information. This page is okay. It's thin. And let me see if I can do this over here and it'll work. Turn that on. Power that on, power on. Okay, so I'm going to switch my screen sharing window here so you can see what I'm looking at. I have a plugin in Chrome that's called SERPworks, and it tells me everything I ever needed to know about a web page. So it tells me about how trusted the page is. It tells me about the authority of the page. It tells me how many pages the page is ranked on. But it also gives me pages Google index and how many words that are on the home page. And there's only 326 words on my home page. I'm going to tell you that is a thin home page, but it gets worse, because if I go to this page has 346 words on it. It's not much better. So each one of these pages needs to be built out. What we are working on doing here is getting blog posts put up for them that have a lot more words on it. Like, so this one is, the word count on this one is 1390. So this page has some reasonable keywords to it and has a has a reasonable word count to it, and I think that's gonna help out a lot. This page just went up, so I don't expect to have any authority or anything like that, but at least it's starting to put pages that make a point and kind of start to stick together. This one's 1,600 words, so these are better pages than a 200. So if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, look at this," I'm going to say, boy, you have a bad word count on these pages, so they're thin content. All right. H1 and H2 tags done right. Yes, and a one H1 and a couple H2s will be fine, but only one H1. That's really kind of getting to be important these days, and not over the top with that. See, this one, I need to, and the customer changed this and I let them change it, and I need to change this back. Think the ideal work from home job does not exist is what that needs to say. It doesn't need to say ideal job. So that one right there is no good. And this question now says, so word count matters for keyword presentation rather than the person wants to read it all. Yeah, so here's the thing, and this is important. It's very easy to post a 1,600 word page that somebody wants to read if you break it up. So if you notice, my boxes are, this is a 2,500 keyword page, 2,500 word page, right? But at least it's broken up in a way that people can function within it. What I will tell you is most people never roll this bar here, okay? So with that said, I made sure my big selling points and my what we do was above that, knowing darn well that this was only built into the page for Google. It's really important that you put those in there. Let me see if this one works. Let me see if it's going to come up. It is. Okay. So I put this page on here today. Right now, this page has a 1,400 keyword, or excuse me, words on this page because of how I did it and how hidden it is. It's got, and hidden is not the right word. We put them in these sliders so that people were not offended by them. So I've got a pile of sliders here that you can go look left and right, go look at all these apartments. It pushed the word count up for me. But the other thing that I'm going to do, so see, here's 2 more boxes worth of words. Down here, once we get to here, I'm actually going to put a box that says, what is corporate housing? And I'm going to move it down here so that it's a little bit more visible down here. So I have 1,400 words on this page. I think it probably needs about another 300 or 400 words for it to work. And that's based on what other people are doing. So you don't feel like this page has 1,400 words on it, or at least I don't think you feel that way because of how we broke it up and how we put all these items and elements together. There's nothing on here that really makes you feel that way on the word count, I think. So, and you can scan it and it's interactive points. It's not really, it doesn't feel claustrophobic to you like you would think a 1,500 word page would feel. This one, let me see if I can find it. All right, so this one here, I think this one's 1,800 words. But you see, it's kind of hard to read because it's claustrophobic in it. Yeah, it's 1,700 words. And yet I think it's a claustrophobic page because there's no other breakups on it. So you see, we're taking them and breaking them up better than we used to in the old days, if you will, because this page is a pretty old page. I think this page was put up, God, a long time ago. I can't even think. Back 2015, 2014, something like that. So this is a really old page. This is that same, this is a 1,400 word page that you don't feel like it's 1,400 words. So you have to be creative in how you put a page together so it's not offensive to the end user is probably the best way to say that. So there's that. Okay. Somebody said, I have to go. Great information. Thank you. You're welcome if you're still here. All right. All right. So the claustrophobic page is ranked because if you see what I did, that's how I found it. I knew where it was because I put in front page replacement and it gives me a page. So if I come down here, we're here somewhere in this mess of pages. We're not as high as we used to. Maybe I should just put replacements because it worked that way. Yeah, see, it's right here, front page replacements. It's number 8 sitting in here. Um, and by the way, that tool I'm using on the sidebar actually gives me the information so I don't have to click through to it. What's interesting is this page has 82 links to just this page. That somebody felt this, that a lot of people out there thought that this page was that important that they actually made some links to this page. So, but yeah, the answer is even though the page is claustrophobic, people read it. And there we go. This says, how important is privacy terms and condition and copyrights at the end of a page? You wouldn't put it on every page. Where I have it is at the way down here in fine print. It's down here. It's actually under this. The privacy is under this thing here. The terms of service and privacy is down here. But it's hidden. I gotta probably unhide it. And then I just did it on SEO 411. God, not but a month ago. Let me see where I stuck it. I hit it on this one too, just FYI, because I didn't want it. But yeah, there is it's actually the privacy sitting over on the blog at the moment is where the privacy policy is. It's over here, kind of there. So it's there, but it's not really hooked up right. It's important to have it. So I'm going to tell you to put it on there, but you don't have to put it on, just put it in the footer somewhere, and that's kind of, that'll work for you. Okay, let's see. Do I have everybody? Oh, I answered everybody again. That's good. All right, that's a good thing. We're moving through. We will never get through 198 in 20 minutes. I'm just going to tell you that right now. All right, so the other thing that I did is I have to look at what the color and size of the font is. And I am going to see, I think I can do it over here. This is a really old page that needs some attention, and I'm trying to rebuild these pages little by little. But you see how tiny that font is? That font is no good for mobile phones. If you pull this page up on your mobile phone, you'd go blind. So make sure that your font is big enough that people can read and there's good spacing on a page. If you come back here, you can see I've kind of gone with a 14 point on everything now. I've made it bigger. It's easier to read, and things are working better just simply because of I have these pages with bigger fonts on them so that they're easier for people to interact with. So make sure that you're doing it. That you have that. This question here says, what's the best way to approach changing your Google My Business information quickly? So if you mean you've moved your office and you need to change your Google My Business, that's one set of things. If you mean that you just want to go add something to your Google My Business or change your name, that's another set of things. So the question is, what are you trying to do to probably for me to be able to answer that? Because first of all, there's really nothing quick about changing Google My Business anything, especially in a pandemic, because all the Google people are working from home. So that has seemed to slow down a lot of the Google working people thing. What I will say is that Google's pulling that information so you can put it right on your profile, but if it's wrong throughout the whole data aggregation system, you have a different set of problems. I'm going to be adding tools to the SEO 411 website probably in the next week or two that address the data aggregators so you guys can see, hey, is this broken? Hey, do I need to fix it? So just know that that's an option out there for you. Let me go back over here. So that'll take care of that. The other thing I'm going to tell you is that Google's looking for, and I want everybody to be aware of this, is that you need to make sure that you don't plagiarize the stuff on your site. Now, eGas, I'm not saying that anybody would ever plagiarize anything. What I'm saying is that you really need to make sure that that content is your own, and that you know where it came from. And if you're unsure if your stuff is, if you paid somebody, let's say, to write something, and you're unsure of whether that is original or not, you can go to a site like Copyscape, run it through, and it will tell you how unique or original that is. Um, the other
I have a
thing is,
question.
yeah.
If you see an article that is, material, I don't know, like for instance, Kleinberg, when he does those big state of the economy, can you quote someone else's article if you show the source and say, saw a great article about Stephen Kleinberg today in Houston's economy, and you do a lead in giving the publication the right credit? Can you do that?
Well, let me answer that a different way. I had a doctor come to me and he said, I'm going to write a page on heart valves. I said, great, write a page on heart valves. So he came and said with me with the article, and it said, here is what the AMA says about heart valves. And he literally cut and pasted the entire article from the AMA and put it in quotes. That would be a no-no. If you took an excerpt of it that said over the next, and I'm going to say this way, and I don't really know the answer because I just got a text message saying that the Houston housing market is way down. If I wrote an article that said, recently the Houston West Chamber of Commerce did its annual review for economic success in Houston, and according to the report done by Mr. Kleinberg, it is anticipated that the Houston growth will be 1.2%. The price of oil is dependent on that, and the price of real estate is considered to go up. That would be okay. But I took that information and I wrapped it in a much larger and grandiose set of sentences to make it sound like it's,
So if you do your own little mini article like that, where you're adding your own points to it, quoting it a little bit, then you could say for the Houston West Chambers of Commerce full article, go here. You can.
No, I would never say that. I wouldn't do that because what
Okay.
happens is then the Houston West Chamber of Commerce gets power from the page I put up. I might make a link and mention, or I might say that it came from the Houston Western Chamber of Commerce, but I'm not inclined to put a hyperlink all the time simply because the power would then be removed from me and moved to the Houston West Chamber of Commerce. So that gets tricky. The other thing is when I tell novices to make links, they tend to make links to everything. So they end up hurting themselves, and then they say, but you said to make links. So I'd rather tell them not to make any links, and then they think that they're sneaking behind my back to make a link, and they only make one link because they don't want me to catch them. So it becomes it's kind of funny because it's like, I don't want to tell you I did this. So the answer is yes, you can do it that way, but I would watch making links out to other people's websites. Just because you're giving away a piece of yourself when you do that. Okay, Patrick's back. He said, would I clarify, when I add a page to my website, even if I don't publish it, does Google recognize that as a rank changing event? No, because if you don't publish it, it's private and they're there. And not every page that you post is going to change your rankings. So you have to think about that too. I'll tell you, it's funny that Sandra mentioned pandemics and pivots, because I just added an entire digital marketing guide for pivoting your business, and I called it Teaching the Pivot. I put a whole thing together, a whole series of pages. This is not out in the ether yet, so we're still waiting for Google to pick that up. I think they're going to pick it up pretty quickly, but we'll see whether I get any rankings on this or what happens with this. We kind of put case studies up there. This search bar on the side sometimes makes these pages look a little weird, so I apologize for that. But if you look, I've got case studies about how to pivot your business. I've got ways to edit it, to do it. So we put this whole survival guide on that. I'm waiting to see what they did with that. And how they receive this, because it's a way to put some evergreen content up on this website in a way that's relevant, helps people, but also helps us all at the same time. So we can kind of follow what happens with these pages because they were just added this weekend. So landing pages, how do they fit in? They don't fit in. When you put a landing, and this is where this gets tricky. When I put a landing page in, I'm talking about doing that for pay-per-click. A lot of times you may talk to SEO companies, they say, we're going to build you landing pages. Technically, this thing you're looking at is a landing page. So they kind of, a landing page to me, when you say a landing page, is it's a page that I'm putting up to land people on for paid search that are designed specifically for that paid search term. You can borrow that for organic. And you can assemble a page like this for organic. I mean, I put this nice big graphic on the side. I mean, this page is really assembled for Google to rank it. I need to get this, see if they, let me, what do I got to do this? I don't even know how many pages, words are on this page. That tells you. I didn't go crazy trying to optimize it. It's only got 500 words on it, and I've got another box to put, and then I'm going to put blog posts underneath it. So technically this is a landing page, but at the end of the day, I put it up for organic purposes. So just kind of understand when somebody says to you landing page, they're really talking about, they're taking verbiage out of the pay-per-click ether, if you will. All right, let's see. We answered that one. 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 How often Google do web search for new data on your website for your change? Okay, so you have to train Google. And in essence, they know that I put stuff up pretty regularly on this website, so they come and check mine a couple times a day. I have other websites that I haven't put something up for a year. If I see Google once a month, I'm lucky. So I think that's the best way to say that. So it's about what you do and how they react. If you were CNN, they would live on your website because they know you're putting stuff up every minute on the minute. If you are yourself and you only put up a page a week, then they're only going to come once a week because they don't anticipate you to do anything more than once a week. So it's a training process, if you will. Next one, Patrick says, excellent answer. Can you address Google's Premier Partners? Is it simply another sales tactic for Google? Yes. Yes and no. Yes, they're paying them. The partners are like, we're a Premier Partner. They're not paying me, but I never got in bed with them to go do that. I've been using it to service my customers with, but I'd be very leery. The other thing that we had was a Premier Partner that called one of my people, and they were going to try to set up a pay-per-click campaign and talked about building all these landing pages, but then they wanted like 10 grand a month to do it. So it was just a way to get Google more revenue by thinking that they were doing something special. And I think you have to be careful with what you do with paid. If you don't really, A, you don't know what you're doing with it, I'd be careful. And B, you need to find somebody that you trust that will do it right. That's just not about how much money they're going to collect from you. A lot of these places will do pay-per-click based on what your spend is. So if you spend $10,000, they may tell you, oh, well, our fee is, 2 to 10 to 15%. But what they don't tell you is that comes out of the spend for the website. So the whole thing is screwball if you don't know what you're looking at. It's partly why we do these classes, because I feel bad because these people come and talk, and they talk to everybody like they don't really know. They assume you don't know what they're talking about, so they can kind of go do a war dance on your head. And then what happens is they know more than you. And because they do, they sound smarter. So you give them money because you think they're smarter than you. But at the end of the day, they really are not. I don't know how else to say that politely. When we first started doing this clinic, I had a lady that came up to me and she said, I paid somebody to do $2,500 to build me a Squarespace website. Well, let's start with the phrase that Squarespace is free. So I'm not really quite sure why anybody's charging anybody something for something that's free, except the lady didn't really know any better. And I think it was like 5 pages. So the whole thing was just bad. Just be careful. It's a real buyer beware industry. So I'm a little cynical when it comes to all this, in case everybody hasn't noticed yet. Okay, let's see. We got our questions answered. We're at 7:55. So what I'm going to do is I am going to tell you, if you have questions, now's the time to answer them. I'm also going to say to you that feel free to use the free audit tools on the front of the website. They're there to use. It'll give you a report and kind of tell you how you're doing. So it'll do it in real time and give it to you on the spot. So that's a good thing. You're always welcome to reach out to us if you need anything. We answer questions for the folks in this class quite frequently, so there's that going on. And that's where we're at. So does anybody have any other questions before we wrap up? Because we got like 4 minutes before it's time for everybody to go to bed. We go to bed early around here. You are in IT and smart and cynical is an add-on. Thank you. I appreciate that. John Harris said, what can I expect from an SEA company for $600 a month? If you are a plumber in Cyprus and you only want to rank in 5 miles, that's what you can expect. If you are a reasonable company of reasonable size, that's way under budget for what you need to do. So it depends on, I don't know what you do, John Harris, to know what that $600 represents. Well, he said thank you, so that must be the right answer. All right. Anybody else? Score clients keep coming up with them. I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well, I think it's because I think John Harris is a score mentor. And so he's.
Oh, all right. Oh, we met him. Don't we know him? He's the tall guy, isn't he?
There's a lot of great score mentors, and some of them log in because they think they know, you know what you're talking about.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that he's here. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Answer live. Yeah. I think I have everybody. And I am cynical. I've been doing this for so long. Oh, okay. John Harris is a mentor. I didn't realize that. Well, you asked good questions there, John Harris. I'm happy to have you.
Well, I know there is John Harris who is a mentor, but I'm not sure if that's the John Harris or not.
Oh, okay. Because this guy said this lady said, Raven said John Harris is my mentor. So I don't know. Although John Harris is a pretty common name. So, I mean, I guess that's a possibility too. So anyway, all right. So that's kind of where I'm at for the night. If anybody needs anything, why do I not like Volution? Well, because it's complicated for starters and it's expensive. So that's probably the other thing. I don't know if that it's kind of like overkill. So that's probably the short answer of that. All right. Again, I'm cynical. Wait for the pun. We will know for sure. The pressure's on, John. They want to know if you're going to make a pun to see if it's you or not. All right. So that's everything for tonight. We'll be back in, I guess, I guess it's 2 weeks.
With the second Wednesday and the fourth Wednesday. So
second Wednesday and the fourth Wednesday, and we're going to stay virtual for June for sure. I mean,
let's do it twice again. You think we should do it twice again?
I'm fine to keep going twice as long as we're virtual. I'm fine to keep going twice. I don't.
Right, let's do
once
it.
we go back to live, I don't know that we want to go. Maybe we'll just do the second one virtual. I don't know. We'll think about what to do.
Yes.
And I don't even know when the go back to live is. I think everybody I've talked to is thinking that the world's going to come back together by June 15th. I don't know. I still don't know what to do in my life. So.
Well, for now, we're making the decision that we'll do the second Wednesday evening and the fourth Wednesday evening, and we'll coordinate with SCORE to put up that topic that we decided upon tonight for the first. Yeah,
we'll talk about structure and assembly, how to assemble a website. That's what we'll call it.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for logging in. It's been great, and it's amazing. 2 hours, and you've answered how many questions? 85 questions. So it's a great way to get your questions answered, and it was pretty quick. So quickly. So thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for logging in, for SCORE host and the SCORE mentors that stay with us all the way through it. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, now hold on.